It's time to preview the Mountain West for 2025 college football.
College football is back, and we're back on the Big Mountain.
Hey, welcome back to the Big Mountain. I am JY. This is my good friend Steve, and here we go, Steve. We've got the Mountain West preview all geared up and ready to go. Oh, it's time again. I'm excited.
I'm excited. And so I was listening to a couple podcasts this week, and they were trying to do a Mountain West preview.
Okay.
And I'm like, these jabronis don't know jack about the Mountain West. I can't wait to hear what JY says because he knows the Mountain West.
Well, we'll see what. Hopefully, I can live up to those expectations. We're going to go through every team. I'm going to start at the bottom, work my way to the top, and I will tell you at the end who is going to be in the Mountain West Championship game. So I've got three teams tied here at the bottom, 10, 11, and 12. They are Nevada, New Mexico, Utah State. I have all of them with 1-7 records in conference and 3-9 records overall. Let's start with the Lobos. Massive turnover, as we've talked about. They return 7, or at least players that have starting experience there. Most of the production, just about all of the production on offense is Gonski's. They left at the end of last year for various reasons. They do bring in Lane here at quarterback. He follows coach down from Idaho, and he is a very solid quarterback. They also add a stud running back from Montana State, Humphrey. So I think they're going to have a decent offense. Will they live up to last year's crazy numbers of that offense? No, I don't think they will. But I think their offense will keep them in some games. They'll be able to score some points, I do believe. The O-line here is all new. And on defense, like on paper, they might improve. But let's just say, Steve, they're not real hard to improve from last year's defense.
One of the worst defenses in FBS last year. Yeah.
So, I'm not trying to talk badly about that group, but maybe they'll get a little bit better defense, but I absolutely think they're pulling back on offense. We'll see what coach can do in his first year here. I'm excited for this Lobo team. Just don't have very high expectations for them. Let's go to Utah State. They have 8 players returning that have some sort of starting experience. They went 4-8 last year. Of course, Bronco Mendenhall comes in. And it's one of those things. What is the Bronco factor here? Like, how much does that play in year one? And that's hard. Nobody knows. Nobody knows how much that plays. I like Barnes here at quarterback. I liked him last year. I've said that several times. Fajon is gone here. Most of the receivers are gone. The O-line is questionable. And then on defense, they do have some 6 players returning with some starting experience. But I don't think they're going to be that much improved. I mean, this is a team that only kept opponents to under 35 points 4 times last year. So you need to, be scoring 5+ touchdowns to win games here. And I think that's going to be pretty similar, here for this year from the defensive side. So anything with those two teams before I get to Nevada?
Yeah, it would just be interesting to see how quickly Bronco can kind of get things turned around.
Yeah.
I don't have big expectations this year, other than I agree with you. I like Barnes at QB. Mm-hmm. So maybe if he can work some magic, if you can have a good quarterback, like you can win some games.
Yep.
So for me, no reason to have big expectations, but they could be fun to watch.
Sure, I agree. So let's get to Nevada. The one that's in this group that I think is the one that I could be the most wrong on in terms of an upside, and I do think that is the Wolfpack. They were 3-10 last year. That included. That's not right. They must have been 3-9. I think I mistyped that. No, 3-10. They had that extra game.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. But anyway, return 6. They have Purdy at quarterback. Big fan of this kid. Kind of a dual threat. Definitely has the legs. The running backs are gone, but I think they can get a lot of production maybe out of Purdy, assuming he stays healthy, because I am concerned about that offensive line. I know you said, we talked about this before, the best thing for a poor offensive line is a quarterback, if he stays healthy, right? That's that's kind of the risk you take. And a couple receivers do come back. A lot of this is going to be on Purdy. What can he do in terms of creating some offense? They're going to be able to get some offense. Defense, though, only 2 players with returning experience. Coach thinks the linebacker room has a lot of potential. And I appreciate, Coach, when you hear kind of the best thing to say about a group is they have a lot of potential.
Yeah.
That may be true, but that means today maybe just isn't quite so good, right?
Yep.
So that's kind of what that means when I see that. And they were the lowest amounts scored against any FBS opponents was 20. So again, offensively, they got to score 3-4 touchdowns to be in a game here, and that's just asking a lot for an offense that's not going to be stellar. Kind of similar to with USU there. I just feel like Nevada, they could be close. If some of these things can gel, they could push that number up.
Yes, I agree. They're similar to Utah State. Just I don't think fans should have big expectations on record. I like Purdy. I think he could do really well.
Yep.
Let's just see what they can do. Again, if you have a good quarterback, you can win some games. So I just still a little bit of a rebuild there.
Yeah. So let's go to the team I have in 9th. That is the San Diego State Aztecs, finishing with a record of 2-6 in the division. Or in the conference, I'm sorry, and 4-8 overall. They do have 14 returning players with starting experience, 10 of those on defense. Yes, Aztecs are going to have another good defense, probably better than last year.
Yeah.
That's just been their MO now for maybe 5 or 6 years. Just really stellar defenses. That's going to continue, but on offense, they lose O'Neal, who just ran around like crazy for his life last year. They do bring in Denegal and Emmanuel. I'm anxious to see how well, these two players are going to play. Denegal's going to be the starter, I think, and we'll see how much they use Emmanuel in the playbook. And Sutton returns here, but they lose most of their production in running back. Napier's the only one back here in receiver. And they lose 3 linemen. So again, I think offense, I'm not expecting much change from last year because they're losing Cooper, fantastic running back. I'm going to call it a wash of a team, and we saw what they were last year. And again, as I said, their defense, they're returning a lot of players. They've got strength across the board. But again, similar to last year, I don't see much improvement here. We talked about that on the coaching show. So
yeah, I think it's tough. I like Coach Sean Lewis. I like what he's trying to do there.
Yeah.
The fans were a little bit restless last year. They didn't see the Aztec fast that they were expecting. And I actually kind of read a lot about this after we went to Mountain West Media Days.
Okay.
And a lot of what I've read was basically they didn't use the tempo that you would expect in this Sean Lewis offense, like they had ran at Kent State.
Okay.
Because basically they just didn't have the players that could do it, that could pull it off.
Yeah.
So I just wonder this year, maybe they have the players, maybe they can go up tempo. If you can go up tempo and be successful, keep moving the chains, you can put a lot of pressure on the defense. Now, if you try and go up tempo and you don't move the chains, and those are really quick 3 and outs, and you put a lot of pressure on your own defense at that point. So we'll see. I don't know which way this will go.
Yeah. Well, let's move up a notch then. We are going to Colorado State. Some people might think I'm way too low with this team after having a really good 8-4 season. I have them chalked up as 3-5 in the conference. I keep wanting to say division. In the conference, 5-7 overall. So pretty substantial swing here. They only return 6. They do have Fowler Nicolasi. I think it's going to be on him a lot. Their O-line is less experienced. They're losing their top guys. They're losing the bulk of their receiving yards. Of course, Torrey Horton, who was a fantastic receiver there for the past couple years. I will say Norvell is really good at finding, recruiting, bringing in, working with good wide receivers. And he mentioned that at Media Days. And it's 100% true. So, yeah, they're losing them, but who knows what Norvell may have up his sleeve here for Fowler Nicolasi. And then on defense, again, lots of losses here for the D-line. They have some good talent, but just overall, they're losing it. Linebackers, all gone, the starters, so losing a ton of experience kind of across the board here with the defense. So, I look and I'm like, I don't see how this team, with the benefit of the easiest Mountain West schedule last year, that came home to roost at the end of the year when they had to play Fresno. But I don't like the way the schedule sets up. They had a better schedule last year, and overall, I just feel like they've taken a step down at offense and defense. So I don't know. People might hate me for this one.
I'm really interested to see how Fowler Nicolasi, advances this year, I guess.
Yeah.
Is the word for it. I went back and looked after Coach was talking Mountain West Media Days, and like his numbers from his first year as a starter to his second year really improved. If he could keep that trend line going, maybe they could get some positive things. But like you said, harder schedule this year, doesn't set up as nice. So it may be a situation where he's better and maybe the offense is better, but maybe their record, isn't as good as last year.
Well, let's go to, I have 2 ties. I have a tie for 6th and a tie for 4th. And it may surprise some people. They may think the teams I have at 4 and 5 should really be down here at 6 and 7. But let's talk about it. Here at 6, tied for 6, Hawaii and Air Force. I have them both 4 and 4 in the Mountain West. I have them both 7 and 5 overall. Hawaii going to 7-5 from 5 and 7. So that's a nice upward swing here for Hawaii. They have 15 players with returning experience, by far, well, not by far, but the most, I believe, in the Mountain West. And such an awesome thing for Chang. I mean, this is his team, and they're sticking around.
Yes.
Like, really cool to see. So they do lose their quarterback after a few years. Alejado is a sophomore, has tons of talent, but he's young. He's going to make mistakes. He's got the arm. We saw it at the end of last season. But you're gonna get a lot, but you're gonna have to give a little bit here, with that inexperience, I would think. Sims returns at running back, and of course they have 2 amazing receivers, Ashlock, Senecal, awesome 1-2 punch down there, and the O-line is much more experienced, and I think improved. A really good O-line here in the Mountain West. I like this offense a lot. But it rests on the kid's shoulders, right? What can he do? If he can be special, they're gonna blow me out of the water. I've obviously downgraded him here a little bit because of his youth, but he could prove me wrong. That quarterback could have me eat crow on this prediction, because the defensive side is really good too. More experience, a lot of starters coming back. Could be one of the best linebacking cores in the Mountain West. So I love almost everything about this team. So there you go, kid, sophomore Alejado. If you want to prove me wrong, you could take this team a lot further than what I have them. But I'm going to keep you at 4 and 4 in the division.
Yeah.
In the conference. Did it again.
I really love their wide receiver room. I think their wide receiver room is amazing.
Yep.
And if they have, experienced offensive line and some good targets to throw to, that could definitely help a young quarterback. So I'm going to be excited really to see this offense this year.
I agree with you. So let's talk about the team I had them tied with, 7 and 5, Air Force. That's what I'm picking them to be, 7 and 5. That's up from 5 and 7 from last year. We know a lot of inexperience, but they're bringing back 13 returners. They do lose Hayes at running back, but they bring everybody else back. So running back room is going to be really good. Of course, they're another year older in that O-line. They just wasn't what they, kind of were used to last year, but they are getting that experience. They are getting better. The top 3 D linemen are back. Another good line here. They have 5 returners to linebacker that have starting experience. So just overall, this team across every aspect. When I say experience, it means a lot of these kids now they're a junior, right? They've moved up now one more year, getting all that experience at Air Force, running their plays. It's not a new coach, it's not a new anything. And I know a lot of people tell me, JY, you're just not getting the Air Force thing. You're not getting the Air Force thing because they know what they do, and these kids have now run it. And we saw the way this offense picked up at the end of the year last year. Again, another team. This could be set up to have JY wrong, but I'm going to go 4 and 4.
Yeah, so, I looked into this team a little bit because I kept hearing people say about how last year was a down cycle for them and this year was kind of maybe an up cycle.
Yeah.
And when you think about it, these service academies, they can't use the portal like other schools. They can't fill their needs.
Right.
They're stuck in their recruiting cycle. So like right now is based on how they were recruiting 2 or 3 years ago.
Yes.
So I definitely really take stock into that. I really thought last year maybe had something to do, and I brought it up a few times, with the new rules, the cut blocking, and the fact they're smaller and everything. But I've said that a few times, but now I'm really maybe looking more into the experience factor.
Yeah.
You bring that up here about how many returning starters they have. So maybe last year was just a down year because they had so many new people they were replacing. And this year, if that's the case, then the corollary to that is this year they have a lot of experience coming back. Maybe they could be pretty darn good this year.
Yeah, we'll see. I think definitely going to be an improved Air Force team. There's no doubts about that. Let's get to who I have tied for fourth. So this is fourth and fifth. Wyoming and Fresno State both finishing at 5-3 in the conference. I have Wyoming finishing 7-5 this year. That's up from 3-9 last year. Remember, they lost all 4 of their out-of-conference games with that more difficult schedule and horrendous start that this team had last year. So I see that at least going 50-50 this year. So that picks them up 2 games, and I think they're able to gain a couple more games within the schedule as well here with the Mountain West. They have 12 returners, 9 of them on offense. Of course, Anderson is going to be the QB starter here. I think he's the sleeper QB of the Mountain West. Everybody looks at last year's offense. They probably don't really know this kid. He's got the talent. He now knows he's going to be the guy for the last year so he can work through spring ball. I think he could be the sleeper here. They lose Whaley, the running back, but I think as a group, right, they don't have that maybe one star, but as a group, this is probably a better group than last year, and you kind of saw that depth issue last year when they didn't have a couple of their players. So I think depth-wise, they definitely have a better room here. And then in terms of wide receiver, I love their top 2 receivers. Durr and Sargent, I love both of these guys. I think Durr is going to be a phenomenal cowpoke here this year and into the future because he's still very young. And of course, they've got J. Mike Gillenborg at tight end, one of the best in the Mountain West, one of the best in the country, named to the Mackey Award watch list. And I think their O-line is going to be very strong. The 3-0 interior linemen, fattest. They're buddies. They're ready to go. As long as that left tackle can stay healthy, which they didn't have to start last year or most of last year, they have a great interior. I like this offense a lot. There's a lot to like. Now, they're not proven that you're not going to go set the world on fire, but I like what they have here from a poke offense. In terms of the defense, they lose their top 9, but they do add some really strong FCS talent. There's also some youngsters. Rutherford comes to mind. I've heard Coach talk about him a lot. I think their linebacking crew here, even though they maybe have less experience starts, I think they're a better group than what we had last year. Really underwhelmed me there at linebacker for Wyoming. The D-backs lose Eckler and Davis. It really is going to hinge on this secondary for the Pokes. Like, the D-line is going to be fine. Linebackers, I think, are going to be improved. We're not so sure here what the D-backs are going to be like. The secondary is going to be, I think, the make or break for the Mountain West defense. But I really like where the offense is at. I think if they can 50-50 that, they end up at 7-5, which, I'd be okay with as a fan. But I'm trying to no homer this. I'm telling you what I think.
Yeah, the last year the defense did not play up to the standard of Wyoming football. Yeah. We heard a lot about that. And the whole team maybe didn't play up to that physical standard of cowpoke football.
Right.
This year, I think if you can get slight improvement in the defense, if the offensive line can play well.
Yeah.
I love Gillenborg. I think he's fantastic. Yeah. Just, target him a whole bunch.
Yeah. Play
a little bit better football, more disciplined football, and you can have a big turnaround for next year.
Yeah. So let's go to Fresno State. So I have them as the same 5-3, but I actually have them 500, 6-6 overall. So I think Wyoming is going to finish with a better overall record than Fresno will. 6-6 was the same as last year, and I struggle with them a little bit because there's a lot of turnover. I like Coach Entz coming in here. I'm really questioning the cornerback with Warner and Mandel. I don't know how well their quarterback play is going to be. I love that Gilliam's back, Donaldson's back. Really good running back group. Big losses at receiver. They lose Delina, Moss, Sharp. They don't have much experience there. So new quarterback, new receiver. I'm not so sure about the passing game here for the Bulldogs. Defensively, they lose some starters up front. They lose some of their tackles here with linebackers, most of their tackles, Nomura and Langley. They also lose Lockridge and Clark on the back. Hamilton's going to have to step up big time. We talked to him at media days, but I think the depth here just isn't what it was. The experience isn't what it was. And actually, I'll be honest, with all this turnover, I think if they're 6-6 coming off of last year, is that a loss? I think that's okay. They're bowl eligible, right?
Yeah, I think 6-6 bowl eligible. I think, to me, you have to look at this team like they're in the middle of a rebuild. They're kind of starting over. And yeah, if they can go 6-6 here, I mean, I think Fresno fans, they expect to compete for the Mountain West every single year.
Sure.
I think this year that's maybe a little bit beyond what the team's capable of, unless something crazy happens. So I'm with you. If they can go 6-6 and get to a bowl, I think that's a win, and you keep moving forward with this rebuild.
So just to be clear on overall, I'm ranking these via conference standings.
Sure, yes.
But I have Hawaii, Air Force, and Wyoming at 7-5 total wins.
Right.
7-5. I have Fresno one below that. They're at 6-6.
Yeah.
So I
Still
do have
eligible.
Hawaii, Air Force from a total record. Hawaii, Air Force, and Wyoming ahead of Fresno State. But they're here where I'm talking about them because we're talking about conference.
And for me, that entire group, the three plus all four, if they can get to a bowl game this year, I think that is a win for all of those programs.
All right, so now people want to know, JY, who are your top three? Who is 2 and 3? Right? I think everybody probably knows who's one's going to be, but who's 2 and 3, JY? All right, here it is. Number 3, I have UNLV finishing 6-2 in the Mountain West and 9-3 overall. That's down from 10-2 last year, so a one-game difference there. They have 5 starters coming back, or 5 players with starting experience there coming back. Of course, a ton of turnover. They're bringing in Coach Dan Mullen. They're bringing in 2 very good quarterbacks, Calandria and Orgy. I'm excited to see how they're going to use these guys. Thomas is one of the best running backs in the Mountain West, so they've got him coming back. That's a ton of production that they get to keep. But they have huge question marks on the O-line. They're losing the entire line. That's one thing that can be hard to build chemistry. They have to be in sync. Yes, they're bringing in a lot of P4 talent up and down this roster, but I really question the O-line here. I do like what they've done with receivers. You're not going to keep the talent, high-level talent that you had the past couple years. But that O-line really scares me. Defensively, same type of thing. Total rebuild on the D-line. And then, of course, they're massive linebackers here. Woodard, Baldwin, Powell, they're all gone. Of course, Catalan, a guy I was on early and was amazing last year. Elad, they're all gone. Massive questions on defenses, like in terms of a team. Like, yes, they're bringing in the talent. Yes, they've got good coaching. But, man, are they going to be able to bring almost a whole defense together in an offseason? That's a high task. I think I'm at the max at 9-3. I wouldn't be surprised maybe if they have another couple slip-ups there, but I have them at 9-3.
I have no idea what to expect from the defense. They could be amazing. They could be total crap on defense.
Yeah.
On offense, I have a lot of faith in Coach Dan Mullen. I've seen what he did at Florida when he was offensive coordinator. Had a guy named Tim Tebow who wasn't necessarily great at throwing the ball, but was one of the best running quarterbacks of all time. Alex Orgy, I'm telling you, that dude is a beast. He's still struggling to throw the ball, but you can, in inexperienced offensive line, one way you can help them is run the ball a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot easier than pass protection.
Guys to come up.
Yes, absolutely. I could see them. Dan Mullen, to me, is an offensive genius. Mississippi State, he got them to be really successful there. Really he was a good head coach, but really being kind of that play caller, that offensive guru.
Yeah.
I think he can work some magic. I love normally you say if you have 2 starting quarterbacks, you don't have any.
Right.
Well, that's normal, but in this case, I actually think this is amazing because it allows them 2 guys with completely different kind of skill levels, talents.
Right.
He can be a mad scientist or whatever, and I don't know if Orgy will be the starter. He could be the starter, but I can see some amazing packages with him.
Yep.
I'm really excited about this offense. I think I'm with you. 9-3 would not be nothing. It would,
Fantastic.
Yes, and if they
Three
have
great years from UNLV if that happens.
absolutely, and if they have a couple slip ups, it is what it is. But I like what Dan Mullen is doing here. I'm excited. To me, this is the team that I'm probably most excited about moving forward in the Mountain West. What they got going on under Dan Mullen.
Well, when I talk to Team 2, it's going to be no surprise who I have in the Mountain West Championship game, because this team I have finishing with a record of 7-1 in conference, which means the San Jose State Spartans, I believe, are going to be in the championship game with Boise State. But let's talk about the Spartans first. I have them finishing 10-2. That's up from 6-6 last year. Eget, second year under this spread and shred offense. You can no longer call it the Nash and Gash because he's not here anymore. We'll come up with a new name. But Nash and Lockhart are both gone, but I like what they've done in the portal here. Brought in a lot. Brought in Riley from Arizona, Smith from Purdue, Starkey from Cal, Scudero from Sac State. A lot of talent. Maybe no Nick Nash in that group, right? But a lot of talent right there. And they bring back their 3 top running backs, Chalk, Bates, Radcliffe. They also bring back 3 O-linemen. They lose a guard and a left tackle, but overall this might be a better O-line. I like this offense a lot. Under the defensive side, defensive line said that Coach Ken thinks the D-line could be the strength of this team. Well, I know how I feel about some of the offensive side of the ball. He thinks the D-line might be the strength of this team. They returned their number 1 and number 4 tacklers last year, Latu and Pollard, to the linebacking core. They lose Rahimi here in a D-back secondary role, but overall a solid group. I think this also takes a step forward. So, this is the first time I'm talking about a team where I'm just like not good, offense. I don't know about the defense. Good, bad, whatever. This is the first team, because I don't know, I can't really say that about UNLV, that are better almost everywhere, and they're balanced, and I don't just mean experience because they played last year. I mean meaningful opportunities, meaningful players. Yep. So I love this team going into the second year spread and shred. And that's where I'm at. Maybe I'm too high on them, but you know how low I was on them last year. So I'm swinging the pendulum far the other way.
I love it. They overachieved last year. Yeah. I think, Coach Ken and his leadership showed us last year, what they could do. I think they take that next step forward this year. And I loved Nick Nash. He was an amazing weapon. To me, top 2 or 3 wide receivers in the entire country last year, for sure. But, maybe, with this spread offense, you want to have... Last year, teams could, after a while, they could say, okay, we're just going to double or triple team Nash.
And with him, it still almost didn't matter.
It almost didn't matter,
100%.
This year, they have to cover the whole field. They can't just target any one player. So I think that could make the offense even more balanced. I like where you're at with the defense being improved. So I love looking at this team as one who could take a big step forward this year.
I need more out of the running game.
Yeah.
That's all I'll say. Yep. I need more out of that running game. First, of course, the Boise State Broncos, 8-0 in the conference, 11-1 overall here record. They returned 14, one of the highest numbers I've talked about. This coach and this program can recruit them and they can keep them, and that is super important and becoming more rare as we talk about it. So them and Hawaii are the ones that stick out to me with the highest numbers. Madsen coming back, there's not much more I can say. I was so big on this kid last year. Yep. Now everybody's big on him. Okay, I'm just going to be repetitive of what everybody else is saying. Love him. I've loved him for 18 months in a football kind of way. And, we're going to keep going. RB Gaines and Dubar are back. Sherrod, of course, he's out. But I don't see any. I'm sorry, Sherrod's in. Sherrod was out at Fresno. My apologies. They bring in Sherrod. So yes, this is a great running back room. Genty is the one that's out. Yes, and I can't forget the People's Heisman winner, but. I think it's a great room. I really like Sire Gaines. I think Sherrod gives him a little bit, kind of just stability there and the experience. But, man, that top-end speed, that special talent, Sire Gaines.
I could see the running back room being like it was 2 years ago when they what was it, Genty, and what was the other guy was real good. He's in the NFL now.
Yeah, I can't think of his name.
Okay, well, yeah, but I could see them being that way this year with these three guys. Just really balanced room. Sorry to interrupt, but
no,
I'm excited about the running back room.
It's a good room.
Yeah.
Receivers here, they bring back tight end Lauder. They have Caples. I've heard a lot of good things from Chris Marshall coming out of camp here. I was actually excited for him last year. It didn't work out. A lot of positives here, so I'm anxious to see Marshall in action. Lots of talent here on the offensive line. Crazy good O-line. Randolph's back. Casey's back. You saw what they did against and what they could do in protection there against Oregon, and they have a really good line. But you know who else may even better? The D-line and what they did against Oregon. They're, again, a very strong unit. You got to win in the trenches, and Boise State's got it on either side. The linebackers, they lose Oladipo and Simpson, but again, they got so much depth and so much talent there. They get number 1 and number 3 tacklers back, Benefield and Washington, so really strong on the back end. Something going to be weird to me. We don't have Dalmas or JFR.
Yeah.
Like those were like the rock stars of the special teams world for me, and they both leave in the same year. That's going to be hard for me to not be able to see those guys. But again, overall, just incredibly strong O-line, really good running back room, maybe better receivers. We'll have to wait and see. Overall, maybe better receivers. They lose a little bit of talent up front. But they led the nations with 55 sacks last year. Again, another team, can they get better from last year? I don't know if, offensively, we'll see what happens without Genty having that home run hitter. But I'll tell you what, they haven't gotten any worse, and they were pretty darn good last year.
Well, I'll tell you, and so for most of the season last year, they had pass rushers that could just get home.
Yeah.
Now, when they got into the playoffs, they played that game against Penn State. It was hard. It was harder to get home with their initial pass rushers.
Right.
But my goodness, did they adjust and bring some crazy blitz schemes?
Yes.
Like, I have never seen some of those blitz schemes, and they got home. They chased the Penn State quarterback all around. So I'm excited about their defense. Their offense, that running back room, Sire Gaines, this might be the next dude.
Yes, I'm with
the
you.
guy who catches everyone's attention.
Yep.
And then the combination, again, we talk about this all the time. Maddox Madsen, ton of experience, a guy who gets the system with a coach Spencer Danielson, who I think just gets it, gets the leadership aspect, everything. I love that combination of coach and quarterback. Those are the guys that are leading your team. They're the core. They're the strength. And I see them back in the playoffs again this year.
Well, here's what's funny, Steve. My top 2 teams that I say are going to meet in the championship, Boise State and San Jose State, they're the 2 quarterbacks that I gave A rankings to. The only 2.
There you go.
They're 2 of the 4 coaches that I gave A rankings to. So they've got everything. I'm not trying to set them up for failure here, but I'll tell you, I think they are incredibly awesome teams this year in the Mountain West. Excited to watch them and the entire slate of Mountain West football. We got through it. Thank you, guys. That was the preview of the Mountain West. Tell me what I got right. Tell me what I got wrong. Put some comments in this chat room, and we'll see you next time on the Big Mountain.